Ed in Klamath Falls, Oregon. Hey, Ed, what's up? Thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
I've been listening to you for years, and every Columbus Day you beat up on Columbus.
Yep.
The guy was living
Proudly.
500 years ago, according to the standards of 500 years ago. Slavery was normal. People in Europe, white Europeans, were selling their children into basic slavery. They'd sell them to shoemakers and whatnot to go be a shoemaker's apprentice.
There's a big difference between being a shoemaker's apprentice and having one of your parents skewered from anus to mouth on a sharpened pole.
Parents in Europe were selling their girls into sex slavery in Europe. There was nothing unusual about it.
Yeah, the European civilization was, to a large extent, you're right, brutal. In fact, Thomas Hobbes probably described it well, although he got the cause wrong. But that's no justification for it, Ed.
We're talking about almost the time of Genghis Khan, for crying out loud. Brutality and violence was the normal standard. It was business as usual.
And therefore we should celebrate it?
Therefore, we shouldn't hold him up to modern standards. He was performing according to the standards of the time in quite a normal manner.
Therefore, we should celebrate it?
He was an explorer in the 1500s. Behaving as an explorer in the 1500s was wont to.
And therefore, we should celebrate it?
Why not?
Because it was brutal. That's like celebrating slavery, because that was normal, Ed.
The 1500s were a very brutal time.
So do you think that we should have a National Celebrate Slavery Day?
Should we forget the Renaissance because it was around that time?
The Renaissance was it was about 100 years before that. Yeah, okay. Why would you want to forget the Renaissance? The Renaissance was a major break with European history. It was a time of
during the time of the Renaissance, the Italians over in Italy were selling their children into sex slavery too. I mean, you can't have one without the other. 1500s are the 1500s. It was a brutal, horrible time. The people that lived in it, you can't judge them by modern standards and go, oh, my God, they were monsters. No, they were just the people of the time.
And therefore we should celebrate them?
Why not?
Because I think that the people that they were monsters to, who history has ignored for 500 years, are worthy of some acknowledgement.
Granted, not everything they did was pleasant, but that was the 1500s.
And the consequence of the 1500s was the destruction of indigenous people, particularly in the Americas. And yeah, you know, I guarantee you that the upper class and even the middle class of Europe were not selling their children into sex slavery. And they did live nice, long lives, by and large. Yeah. You know,
not so long. Maybe they died when they were 45 instead of dying when they were 30.
No, there were plenty of people who lived to 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. It was not all that unusual. The major thing that skews average age was infant mortality, not people dying when they're 30. Those are averages. But again, I don't understand why we should celebrate a horrible time in history.
Now, that's it. It's a horrible time in history, perhaps, but it's not a horrible man. It's just a man in history in a horrible time.
I think he was a horrible man. Respectfully, Ed, I think he was a horrible man.